When you go camping, one of the things that you need is water. So whether you're filling up your tank before you get there or using the spigot once you're there, I have a few tips to help you do it the right way. I'm Angie from Happy Acres Campground, and today we're going to talk about water. There's a few things to consider. First of all, a hose. You might think, well, a hose is a hose, but it's not. When you use a hose at a campground for water that you're going to be drinking, it needs to be safe for drinking water. And I mean, it could look different. So this one is a drinking water safe hose, and they could be white, it could be blue, but what you don't want to use is a standard garden hose. Although it's the same size and the connection will fit the same, it's not made the same, and it's not generally considered safe for drinking water. So stay away from the garden hose, keep that for the garden, and go for a hose that says in the packaging that it's safe for drinking water. The second thing to consider is your water source, and they're not all created the same. So the spigot at your site is considered safe or potable water. So feel free to connect to that and feel safe about drinking it. But this isn't. This is actually at a dump station, so this spigot you won't want to use for drinking water, whether it be because of the vicinity to a dump station or maybe the source of the water doesn't go through the same testing. Some water is just not considered safe for human consumption, or puppies for that matter. So it could say no drinking water, it might say non-potable or not potable water. But if you see any of those things, don't drink and don't use it to fill your freshwater tank. Now that we've established that very important fact, another thing to consider is pressure. Not all pressure at every campground is equal, and sometimes it might be too much, sometimes it might not be enough, but also sometimes it might fluctuate. And when that happens, it can put pressure on your seals and your pipes, which ultimately could cause leaks. So they make pressure regulators that you can use, which would actually just go in between your hose and your spigot, and it just takes those ups and downs of the water pressure out of the equation, so you don't have to worry about causing leaks. But at Happy Acres, these aren't necessary because we have a brand new variable frequency drive pump that keeps the pressure constant at 60 psi. Whether 18 people are using it or 2 people are using it, you're going to get the same pressure. So these aren't really necessary here. So another thing to consider is filtration. A lot of campers feel like they need to filter their water, and this is going to be your most basic, easy, simple way to do it. It's just an inline filter that connects from your spigot to your hose, and it'll take out impurities, maybe some taste, maybe a little bit of odor. I believe that they need to be changed approximately every 3 months or so. If you have high usage of water, maybe a little bit more than that, in order for them to maintain and be effective. So if you want to get really fancy on your filtration, you can get something like this, which is a 3-stage filter. It does everything that other filter does, but it also has one specifically for taste and then one also for safety. And that brings me to another point. We do have a well, which means well water here, and we are required by the state to test our water every month to make sure it's safe for consumption. So rest assured, our water is always safe. Final couple things to consider. Before you just turn the water on and let it go full blast, you might want to run into your camper and close all of your spigots, or your faucets, make sure they're all closed tight, because during travel sometimes they can wiggle loose a little bit and you don't want things dripping that you're unaware of or leaking. So make sure those are all closed up. And then from a campground owner's point of view, make sure that your hoses are tight, that the seals are in good condition and tight. Don't let that water just drip or spray out of the spigot or from your camper. I've seen them both. It can cause, obviously, damage to your camper, but it also kind of can cause damage to our infrastructure. So once you turn that water on, make sure everything's good and tight, nothing's dripping or leaking, and then you'll be all good to go. So remember, don't just camp, camp happy.